What is up, Auburn fans? And I hope everybody is having a great Sunday afternoon. It's game week, baby. The Auburn Tigers kick off Friday night. We are here. We have made it. College football kicked off yesterday. And what a weekend it was. I went out to Sims, Alabama Friday night, watch the Caleb Morris kid, the three-star defensive lineman, who is currently committed to the Mississippi State Bulldogs, but he said Auburn's turning it up. I'm sure all of you saw what Cole had to say with that, and he said, I am committed, but it's recruiting and anything can happen, and we got a long way to go until December. And I'll tell you, he's a solid player, man. He really is. I was very impressed with Mary Montgomery as a whole. I was really impressed with their quarterback, the way he handled himself. They ran a MGM was up 14-0. Pace scored. MGM stalled on their own 15-yard line. They had a bad snap. It had been raining, and it was just some tough conditions, right? And this was one point in the game that I didn't really like. Mary Montgomery faked a punt on their own 15-yard line, and they were winning 14-7, and Pace sniffed it out. I mean, the kid from Mary Montgomery, he could fly, but it was just too far of a fake punt to try to do something like that on your own end of the field like that. I didn't like that call. Pace sniffs it out. They tied up 14-14. And so it really felt like MGM had lost momentum in the game. And I was really pleased with Mary Montgomery's quarterback when he come back in the poise and the moxie to stand in the pocket and make big time throws on third down. And he was a transfer, and that's kind of we also wanted to go out there and see him a little bit because we have heard a lot of noise and buzz about him. And so they got a good team, man. And Mary Montgomery could go. They could go some places in 7A. The last couple of years, they've had some really solid teams. So week 0 Saturday, I watched all of it. I stayed up and watched. Hell, I watched Blunt and Viger on YouTube last night. There was a weather delay in that, so they didn't get done until like 11 o'clock last night over there at Lad Peoples. But stayed up and watched Stanford and Hawaii. I shout out to Hawaii's quarterback. I mean, I thought he was phenomenal. He last two drives, they're down 3. He goes and gets them a field goal. He's got on a bum ankle, man. He can barely walk. Was hobbling when he was running for first downs. Was getting just beat to death back there, and just dart after dart after dart, and they walk it off on a field goal, man. And what a game that was. Hawaii was at -2.5, so I was sweating. But the Rainbow Warriors covered the -2.5 and win by 3. I thought Kansas looked pretty solid. I know they were playing Fresno State, but Jalen Daniels and that offense looked ready to go. And as long as he can stay healthy, I think they're going to be a really, really good team in the Big 12. Now, the game in Ireland, I want to give my thoughts on this before we start talking Auburn. And I heard a couple people when I got over to my brother's house, we were talking about, well, should an SEC team go to Ireland and play a football game? And I say absolutely not. I do not want to go to Ireland to watch 2 SEC teams play in week 0 for a conference game. I don't ever want to see that. I don't ever want to see a college football game overseas. I don't care to see that. And y'all know me, I'm a big soccer guy. All right. I love watching soccer. I don't watch American soccer because I know the best place to watch soccer is in Europe. So I don't want to watch MLS soccer. And it's like them over there, they don't want to watch college football. They don't care about college football. It's not a big deal. They care about soccer. They care about a different type of football. I do not want to go. I don't ever want to see Auburn have to go overseas to Ireland and play a college football game. I think it's pointless. I think you're wasting people's money. Kansas State had to give up a home game to go over there yesterday. That's a $5,000 trip for a fan. Let's be honest, all right? Because don't say, oh, well, you're cutting it. Look, it's going to take you about 1,200 on flights. All right. Then you got to get over there. You're not going over there just for a couple days. You're going to make it about a week-long vacation. Let's be honest. Because it's a place that you might not go again. So you're not going to go just for 2 days. You're going to go over there for a week. And you got to spend hotels, food. You're going to buy things to bring back for family members. You're not going to go over there and cheap it up. You're going to buy a couple bottles of champagne while you're over there. You're going to eat the good stuff. You're going to do it right. That's an expensive trip for a lot of fans. Now, another thing, and playing a conference game over there with 2 ranked teams is another thing I did not like. All right. I just feel like that game should have been played in America. And it's a Farmageddon rivalry game. Like, I can't get down with having it over in Europe. I just can't do it, man. I don't like it. I would never want to see the Deep South's oldest rivalry go to Europe and play a football game. I just wouldn't. I think it'd be stupid. Now, as far as the game went, I thought the first half was sloppy. I thought it was, the people say, oh, well, the weather played. In fact, look, weather's weather. That's football weather. It rains, it snows, it sleets, whatever. You got to hold on to the football. And Kansas State or Iowa State could do it. It was bad football. But in the second half, Iowa State capitalized. And I'll tell you something about this. Everybody wants to talk about fall camp this, fall camp that, the headlines out of fall camp. Well, guess what, folks? Iowa State was told that their offensive line was absolutely terrible all fall camp. Iowa State don't have an offensive line. They lost their offensive lineman. What'd they do at the opening of the broadcast yesterday? I don't know how Iowa State's going to hold up against Kansas State. I don't know how these receivers are going to make plays against Kansas State. They lost all of their wide receivers, and they lost their whole O-line. And Iowa State's O-line dominated Kansas State in the second half yesterday. Absolutely dominated them. They were getting 4 or 5 yards a carry. And all we heard all fall camp was Iowa State's offensive line was terrible. Come on. Stop. You don't have to listen to everything you hear in fall camp. That's why I've been telling y'all, a lot of this stuff is clickbait, man. A lot of this stuff, you ain't got to believe everything you hear out of fall camp. Because some people are taking things and they're running with it. And I can guarantee you old Campbell is sitting there saying, hey, go ahead, talk about my offensive line now. What do you got to say about them now? Because they went and whipped up on one of the better defenses in the Big 12. Hell, the best defense in the Big 12. And guess what? What's the way Auburn's going to win? Exactly, Trevor. What's the way Auburn's going to win Friday night? You got to go just destroy the trenches. You got to manhandle Baylor. Got to manhandle Baylor. And here we go, Daniel, back, man. The folks love it, Daniel. They love it. They love getting on you. Hugh is going to call a play that will cost us Friday. Well, now, hey, guess what? This is a great thing for us to really turn to these FPI top 25 rankings, because I pulled it up this morning and I said, okay, look at there. They got Auburn bumping up a slot over Kansas State after they lost yesterday. And we didn't even play a game, right? And I like looking at numbers. I like looking at numbers because I hear all these shows and they're predicting the Auburn's record and they're talking about what's Auburn's ceiling. And I watch Andy Staples and his show with Ari Wasserman, and I liked it. And they're talking about what's the floor for Auburn. So I like watching the FPI top 25 rankings because it's numbers, baby, and they're all factored in there. And I really, really liked what I saw for Auburn. And so, you talk about Hugh Freeze. calling that dreadful play. And I agree with you. I feel like the reverses to Malcolm last year, one was against Vanderbilt. You tried the running back pass with Jarquez in the Iron Bowl. I want to see less of that. But for the most part, man, I know everybody is on Hugh Freeze about play calling. But damn it, we were in every single game last year. And I don't think that gets talked about enough. Because everybody wants to piss on Hugh nonstop. And I get it, dog. He hasn't won. But I told y'all this a year ago. Guess who else didn't win until he was almost fired? That's Drinkowitz out at Missouri. They were so fed up with him, they were like, man, he sucks. He ain't won nothing. He was supposed to be the savior. And guess what? He turned it around. He started winning. And now all of a sudden, they're like, oh, man, Eli Drinkowitz, he's SEC Coach of the Year. You can't find a Missouri fan. I never said that. I never said to fire Drink. Yes, you did. But the narrative changed because he started winning. That's the thing. All right? And y'all, look, don't feed into Daniel. Daniel is an Alabama fan who is on an Auburn account. And we get it. It's cool. I like the trolling because I love seeing y'all get after him. And he leads me into segments, man, and I really like it. And so I just lay off of Hugh for a little bit because like I tell you, from year 1 to year 2, Auburn's offense drastically improved. Auburn was 29th in the country in total offense last year. Their stats did not match their record because Auburn had a top 30 defense and a top 30 offense last year. And they were 5-7. They just couldn't score in the red zone. They just couldn't score. Now, that's got to change this year. But as far as the stats, he did improve. And we can talk all this about Peyton. It was just the dreadful turnovers, man. He did take a step forward. So when everybody started talking about development issues and all this stuff, he took a step forward from year 1 to year 2. He couldn't stop making that dreadful turnover. And hell, the Arkansas game wasn't his fault. Auburn actually had a chance to win the game because of Peyton, in my opinion. So you got to stop with everything's, and I know it's always on the head coach, but every single episode, somebody is like, man, Hugh Freeze. It's not. I continue to tell you, I will continue to tell you, players win games. Okay? Players win games. Players win games. Coaches can put you in the best possible situation. But Tyler Siskey says it all the time, folks. And he was a coach at that level. He says, I can put you in the best possible situation to succeed. But you are the one who actually has to go out there and do it. That's it. That's it. It's like I'm a big Major League Baseball guy. And everybody always points, well, the head coach. And I'm like, well, yeah, the head coach, he did put a lineup out there. But we also had runners at second and third with nobody out and couldn't score. That's not the head coach's fault. That is the guys who are getting paid millions of dollars to step in the box, and they can't hit a ball to the right side of the field and get a run in. That's their fault. Not the head coach's fault. It ain't the manager's fault. So I get it, though. It all gets pinned on the quarterback and the head coach. But look, like I said, Auburn moves up to number 20 in these FPI rankings. I thought it was pretty cool to look at their win-loss percentage. All right. What does ESPN have Auburn as their win-loss percentage? They got them at a 7-5 record. Okay. That is their base right there. Like 7-5. Can they go over 7-5? Yes. Could they go under 7-5? Yes. I'm gonna give you my reason. Could they win out? What is their win out percentage? 0%. So they do not see the Auburn Tigers going undefeated. Well, guess what, folks? Nobody sees any SEC team going undefeated. All right. 6 wins percentage, 84%. That right there tells me they think it's a pretty damn good possibility for Auburn to get to 6 wins. If you're at 84%, now I told you that little baseline percentage for ESPN is 7-5. Well, if they feel so strongly about Auburn getting to 6 wins at 84%, I feel like they think Auburn, they're eclipsing that 7-5. I think they are getting past that 7-5 mark. Now, percentage to win the conference, 0.8%. That's okay. Guess what? I'm fine with that. I don't expect Auburn to win the conference either. Playoffs, you're at 12.7%. You're at 12.7%. To make the national championship, you're at 1%. To win the national championship, you're at 0.4%. So right now you have a 12.7% chance to make the playoffs. I think the team above you was Oklahoma, and they had a 14% chance to make it. That's why I think that Auburn-Oklahoma game is so pivotal in the season, especially if you beat Baylor and you're undefeated going to Norman, Oklahoma. That game is going to be absolutely massive. Now, you had 10 SEC teams ranked ahead of you in this poll. So that tells you where they kind of see you being ranked. Now, do you play some of those? Yes. Could it change? Yes. But they're high on Auburn, and they don't think this Auburn team is going to miss out on a bowl game again. And people say, well, Blake, you got to do better than a bowl game. Yes, I agree. 1,000% you have to do better than a bowl game. But them telling me that it's 6 wins, what is our percentage to hit 6 wins? Is it 84%? That means we're positive on 7 wins, 8 wins. There is a positive percentage for the Auburn Tigers to get to 8 wins. I think ESPN is high on Auburn. Now, I watched the Andy Staples and Ari Wasserman podcast the other day. And Andy Staples, who he's well known on 3 Sports, he gives a lot of predictions. Hold on. What? Hold on. What if? It might be. It might be for real. It might be, or one of my buddies who's a big Alabama fan. But I just saw my wife and I was like, hold on now. So I watched the Andy and Ari show on 3. Andy's he's out there. He's all over Twitter. He's all over social media. His takes, they hold a lot of weight. And Andy said, get your jokes off now. Auburn is going to win at least 9 games. Auburn is going to win at least 9 games. That's another person that is very high on Auburn. The guy J.D. Pickell on 3, he's pretty high on Auburn too. He said he thinks Auburn can get to that 8-win mark. I do too. And I think it starts Friday night. I think it starts Friday night. Now, one thing that Andy and Ari talked about was the whole 3 quarterback thing and everybody taking that and just absolutely running with it. And Andy, he followed up on it. He said, Ari, why did people just take that and run with it? And he said, because Auburn hasn't had the success that others have had. He said, if another coach would have said that, he said, just say Kirby Smart would have said it. And he'd have been like, well, Gunner and two other guys might play. People would have laughed it off and they'd have been like, oh, okay. And he's absolutely right. Because winning is how you are judged. And if you're not winning, you're going to get judged differently. Same thing with the visor throw. If he was Rhett Lashley, if it was Rhett Lashley in that video throwing his visor at an SMU practice, you think it would have hit the internet and went viral and people would have said, oh my God, Rhett Lashley, he's getting all over Jennings and they're not going to the playoffs. They're not going to make a bowl game. No. People would have been like, man, that's how you coach right there, dog. That's how you get in your quarterback's tail right there. You know, I can go ahead and tell you get viewed because of your win percentage. And I like what Andy did. He cleared it up. He said, stop. He said the only way three quarterbacks play in this game is if Auburn is up 42-14 in the fourth quarter and Ashton Daniels gets a drive and Deuce Knight gets a drive. So I like that. Then he talked about Jackson Arnold. He said that Jackson Arnold, you know, we all know bad spot, yada, yada. But he said the confidence of Jackson Arnold is still there, he thinks. And he thinks that Jackson is still a really, really solid quarterback, 5-star quarterback. He's got all the tools and the intangibles and the moxie to go out and lead Auburn. He said that you got to stop with the fumbles and you have to protect the football and stay out of the weird moments that Auburn was in last year. Stay out of those. Put your foot on somebody's neck and stay out of those weird, funky games where you just knew that Auburn was going to make a play to lose a game. Just stay out of those moments. And that's what Jackson has to do. Like I told y'all, you got the keys to a luxury vehicle. Just don't wreck it. I can't wait to see him use his legs. I think that's going to play a factor. I think he's going to be even better than Peyton Thorne in that department. Some of those long runs that Peyton had, one last year on 4th and 2 against Texas A&M, Peyton picked up 18, 19 yards. I think Jackson could have the ability to pick up 25 to 30 yards on some of those runs. He's also not afraid of contact. Now, do I want him taking contact? Do I want him lowering his shoulder? No, he's not Cam Newton. So he's not Nick Marshall. I don't want that. I want Jackson picking up the first down, getting away from contact, sliding, diving, getting out of bounds, whatever. Stay healthy, kid. But I thought it was big of Andy and how confident he was. Another thing he talked about was Hugh Freeze having confidence. And Hugh Freeze talking highly of his players. And he said that it's not something that he didn't do 2 years, the previous 2 years. But he feels different about Hugh Freeze. And he feels like Hugh Freeze is in love with this Auburn roster. And he wasn't really feeling that way the previous two. I thought that was a positive sign for me. He didn't feel that way the previous 2 years. And that's why he's a little higher on Auburn than he has been. So I can't wait to get to Friday night. I hope Auburn shows up. I hope they shut the naysayers up. I hope they go out there to prove a point. I hope this entire offseason has been used as bulletin board material to go make a statement in Baylor, in Waco, Texas. Go make a statement, and you will stop the joking, the laughing, the SEC fan bases on Twitter that are constantly throwing shade at Auburn that have no business throwing shade. If you are a Mississippi State fan, a Kentucky fan, a Vanderbilt fan, or an Arkansas fan, all right, you have not seen your team win a national championship in football. And I doubt you ever will. I doubt you ever will. So for you to pipe up to an Auburn fan, an Ole Miss fan, left them out. For you to pipe up to an Auburn fan and try to discredit the program because they're on this little 5-year down stretch, it is blasphemy to me. Because you've never seen any of your teams do anything. Nothing. Ever. At least Mississippi State has made they have made the SEC championship game, unlike their rival in state. But they did get there and they got blasted by Tennessee. So you can't win it. And that's why the state of Mississippi, your best players come to the state of Alabama because they know if they stay in the state of Mississippi, they're not going to win. They're not going to play in big games. They're not going to play in the college football playoffs or the national championship game or anything like that if they stay in the Mississippi, in the state of Mississippi. It's just not going to happen because you are who you are and you're going to continue to be who you always have been. And I'm tired of Auburn getting disrespected that way. And I hope you show up Friday night and you make a statement because all I've heard is how Sawyer Robertson is going to throw all over you and Baker's going to take and they're going to pick you apart and they're going to hang 40 on you. And Baylor's wide receiver room is deeper than Auburn's. Auburn's is better. Auburn's starters are better, but Baylor's wide receiver room is deeper. Baylor went into the portal and got better players on defense. I've heard it all. And guess what? I'm tired of hearing Auburn get disrespected. And from what I saw out of the Big 12 in week 0, you can't tell me if that's the best they got to offer out there. Auburn's got to go out and win a football game Friday night. Let's get over here in these comments. I don't have any problem with special plays. I think you need to run them regular. Keith, I think he just ran them at the worst possible times. Like, they were so predictable. That's my thing. I guess that's what I should have said is, like, he ran them and they were so predictable. That's my big issue with it. I don't mind trick plays because sometimes I think they're great. Gus used to do it, and he would rip one, and you'd be like, wow, great stuff, great call. I just think Hugh runs them at terrible times. So I should have laid that out there a little better. Yeah, Mike. Red zone offense is key, man. You got to get 6 instead of 3. You got to. You have to. Plus, the roster has continued to improve, the staff too. For sure. That is why I've kind of eased off of Hugh. Do I like some of the things he says in front of a mic sometimes? No. Do I put every little thing on him? No. I don't. Because I just think he was dealt an atrocious hand when he got to Auburn because we were that bad with you-know-who. We were. Y'all are going to regret being this hype. Let me tell you something, Daniel. Everybody in here knows I'm a massive, massive Auburn baseball fan. Okay? Not this past season, but the year before. We went 8-22 in SEC play. We were one of the worst teams in the conference, right? Guess what? This past season, I was hyped. Couldn't wait for Auburn baseball to get here. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Just itching for Auburn baseball to get here. We get here, and we're 2 games away from going to Omaha. Because I knew Auburn baseball would bounce back. And I know that one day Auburn football will bounce back. And it could be this year. It could be. And I'm always going to get hyped up about Auburn sports. I'm going to always get hyped up. Love it. That's a fact. It's a chance we take. Yeah, that's like, hey, getting hyped up about basketball season this year. Guess what? Our basketball team could go out there and lay an egg. We got a whole new roster. Do I think we will? No, but it could. It could. You never know. It's just part of it about being a fan. For sure. I'm with you, Keith. There's not a game that I look at and say, okay, there's just no chance to win. There's not a game on the schedule where I say, okay, Auburn's probably going to lose by 3 scores here. That includes Georgia and Alabama. That includes them. Yeah, you could beat everyone. I just think the way the SEC is now and the top to bottom with Texas and Oklahoma and all, I don't think anybody's going undefeated. Hugh thinks 3 QBs will play because he knows Auburn is about to BTA Baylor. Got to give them some questions. Let's go. Let's go. Keith bringing the heat, baby. Let's go. Hey, I hope, man. I really do. I hope. I watched that LSU bowl game the other night, and there were some comments that come out about Dave Aranda talking about the defensive backfield. And he was like, yeah, you know. He was a little hesitant to even answer the question. And that right there, I was at work, and I was like, man, I got to tweet this. I was like, I got to go back to Cam. They were like, the girl was like, hey, what's your favorite route? And he was like, ooh, give me that post. So I was like, yeah, I got to go tweet it because Dave Aranda, if he don't like his DBs and what he's about to go up against, Cam Coleman could be, he could have a legendary night. Eric Singleton could have a great night. Malcolm Simmons. If he don't like his DBs, that's a bad sign for Baylor. Baylor has become a delusional group of sad clowns. Brad Law talks about barn derangement syndrome. It is obviously spreading. We are on the minds of everyone. Bunch of haters. Okay, so some of these Baylor fans, man. I heard one Baylor fan, or saw it on Twitter. He said, you're just mad because you're little bro to Alabama. Okay, so Baylor fans, guess what? You're like the adopted stepchild, like the 7th stepchild in the state of Texas. There you go. Let's see. TCU, Texas Tech, Texas A&M. Who else, man? I think UTEP's even had a better season than you hear, or UTSA. UTSA's even been more relevant than you hear lately. Yeah, so like you're way down there, like way down there. Yeah, it's bad. The only thing I ever remember Baylor of in football is RG3. That is it. That's it. When somebody says, hey, what do you think of Baylor football? I just say RG3 Heisman. He beat Oklahoma. That's it. I've never known you for anything else. Nothing. So, oh yeah. Let me. That's another thing, all right? Lane Kiffin does a lot of talking about Hugh and the state of Alabama and everything. I'll tell you this. Lane Kiffin, he fumbled the bag, okay? He fumbled the bag simply because he could have come to Auburn, and I think he could have had legendary success. Instead, he thought he was going to get the job at the University of Alabama, and he found out that the University of Alabama doesn't want him. So now what does he do? He tries, let me go troll Auburn's coach. Let me go troll Hugh Freeze. I've had more success than Hugh Freeze has at Ole Miss. Bro, you fumbled. You fumbled. You fumbled. And Deuce says, hey, your best players come to the state of Mississippi. Your best players come to your best players in the state of Mississippi come to Alabama because they know what the state of Mississippi is. I agree, Mike. Alex, that little combo you got right there. Do you eventually pull a 5-star OT at some point? You got to start putting them in the league. And I think Xavier Chaplin was a nice pull out of the portal. I think if he goes and has a year, or Mason Murphy has a year, I think you got to show some life in that department before you start pulling these studs. And we've done pretty good, but I think you got to show some positivity. Okay, Baylor, we might be, Blake, but we're going to be 1-0. That's cool. That's cool. We'll see Friday night. Ball kicks off. Texas State. Yeah, I forgot about Texas State. TJ Finley had success out there. Yeah, so, and it's like, I don't hate Baylor, all right, Y2K. I don't hate Baylor. I just see some of these comments, and then it's like, I'm talking about, like, with, Baylor fans and, like, Mississippi State fans, when you talk negatively about a program that has had way more success than you, it just doesn't make sense to me. Because I'll see on SEC Twitter, like, Mississippi State fans and Kentucky fans. Like, I worked with a Kentucky fan. He was diehard for years. I worked with him. And he would always be like, man, Auburn's so trash. And he meant every word of it. He like wasn't trolling. He'd be like, man, Auburn's so trash. And I'm like, Eric, y'all are terrible. I'm like, y'all are awful. I'm like, you don't get to say those things. You don't get to say that, because we have dominated you and we will forever dominate you. And it's blasphemy to me. I don't get it. Rice, man, what a old classic baseball school. Love the Owls out there, man. Love the Rice Owls getting to Omaha. SMU, I forgot about SMU. Oh, sheesh. The list grows. Y2K. It gets longer, brother. I forgot SMU. And no, in the last 12 years, Baylor has been more relevant than Auburn. Because look at records and bowls. And y'all, no, we don't look at. We look at what we have won. All right, we look at trophies. We look at national championship game appearances. We look at did y'all make the college football playoffs yet? I don't think y'all haven't made the college. So neither one of us have made the college football playoffs. So, yeah, it's rough out there. Y2K. There are better teams in the state of Texas to pull for, brother. Yeah, Houston. As long as you know, Y2K, as long as you know, brother, we got more success. A Natty, we're a top 15 program of all time, in my opinion. And that's it. Like, I'm not trying to down Baylor, because I like your team. I like Sawyer Robertson. I like the running back. I like your receivers. And I think Dave Aranda's a dang good coach. I do. I'm not trying to down Baylor, because I think you definitely have an opportunity to win the football game Friday night. Do I think you win? No. Do I think it's going to be a close game? Yes. All right. That top 15 is from past. No, it's historical. Okay. So, like, even though, hear me out, Y2K. So, even though University of Southern Cal is down right now, they are still a program that I will always put over Baylor, Auburn, Ole Miss. I even put them over Auburn because they're historically better in that conversation. That's the way I view it. Like you look at, look at Ohio State, Michigan, like those, like historically matters. Like all those seasons matter. And I think that's how you view programs is I view them, off of, I call schools like, hey, that's a basketball school, it's a baseball school, like Mississippi State. All right. I know I brought them up a ton, but Mississippi State is forever a baseball school. Period. I view Ole Miss the same way. Arkansas. I think Arkansas will forever be a basketball, baseball school. They've won it in basketball. They've come really, really close in baseball, just can't get it done. I look at LSU as I think you are a baseball / football school. You are the premier program in baseball, in college baseball, and you're one of the premier programs in college football. But your tradition is in jeopardy if you don't. Well, Southern Cal and Miami. Miami has been dog water for years, and they're still one of the premier programs. Nebraska, look at how much Nebraska gets talked about. Y2K. Look at how much Nebraska gets talked about. They've been terrible for going on 15 to 20 years, and every single week on 3 has an episode about Nebraska. You want to know why? Because they're one of the premier programs, blue bloods, in college football history. It'll always be like that. No matter if Nebraska was to come out and go 4-8 again this year, guess what? They're going to get talked about nonstop on 3, 247, Rivals, whatever, ESPN. They're going to get talked about every single offseason. Who's not a blue blood? Nebraska? Nebraska's not a blue blood? That's crazy. That is insane. No, it doesn't change. It doesn't change, Y2K. That's the thing, man. I know we're venturing off Auburn here a little bit, but blue bloods don't change, dog. It's like if Duke was to have 8 bad years of basketball. They're still one of the greatest programs of all time. It doesn't change. It doesn't. Nebraska is one of the most historical, greatest programs in college football history. I want to know what the Locked On Baylor guy is smoking. Alex, he's really good at what he does with getting clicks, views, engagement, and things like that by saying those things. And the only thing that I didn't like from him, he's very catchy on camera. And what I mean by is he does it. He knows how to work the space, right? And I think he does a great job of that. But he made points on the first crossover, and I was like, okay. I was like, this guy, not bad. Think he does a great job. And then all of a sudden, he goes on another show, and it's completely different. And it was just like, all right, well, you captured these fans to come watch this show. So we go watch this show, and you're completely different from what you said on the Locked On Auburn crossover. So you went from this show where you were speaking highly of a team to this show where you were just straight up negative because I guess you didn't think some people were watching. I don't know. And that is the only part I didn't like. I told y'all the other night I went on an early preview Iron Bowl episode with Alabama at the Voice of College Football. And guess what? You think I went on there and downed Alabama or downed Auburn? No, I spoke highly of both teams because I respect the rivalry that much, and I think it's the best rivalry in college football. And I'll die thinking that. And I love everything about Alabama and Auburn in that game. I love it. And so I went on there and told my honest opinion about, hey, I hate Jan Miller got hurt. I can't wait to see Ty Simpson Saturday against Florida State. I think that could be the whole story of your season if he pans out. Alabama's got the roster to go to the college football playoffs and make the national championship game. I didn't get on there and say, hey, man, Alabama's going to suck. All right, they're going to be terrible. I didn't do that because I don't want to put my name on garbage. So Nebraska finished 18th, Baylor finished 62nd. Yeah, man. And you know what's crazy is Nebraska finishing 18th in recruiting is crazy impressive because Lincoln, Nebraska, there is nothing, and I mean nothing, to do there. And how they capture 18-year-olds to go there in recruiting battles. You're in a recruiting battle, and you win a battle with an 18-year-old to go to Lincoln, Nebraska is absolutely insane. I could never do one of those shows. I can never say anything positive for those jerks. I think you have to have you got to take the orange and blue goggles off, Brett, and you have to look at it at a roster. You got to look at it as being completely open-minded and going in and saying, hey, look, I'm not going to be one-sided, and I'm not going to do the episode like that. And that's the way I try to do it. It's not different nowadays. It's not Y2K. They're slowly coming back, man. They just made a bad hire like Auburn did, and it's taken them a little while to get out of the hole. They hired Pat Riley. Auburn hired Brian Harsin. Tit for tat, brother. And they're both trying to climb out of the hole. All right. Nebraska technically made two bad hires because Scott Frost. I was never a big Scott Frost guy. I didn't like the move to Nebraska. I felt like he should have stayed at UCF because he had a lot of momentum and he ran for his alma mater. I get it. I just felt like he should have stayed at UCF. And I think they made two atrocious hires, and it held them back. It's the other crap that's been said. Yeah, like, it's just look, I'm with Y2K here, and I think he's left some great comments on the page, and he's telling us like the position groups that we need to watch out for Baylor and all that good stuff. I've enjoyed it. The thing I don't like is just on Twitter and X, whatever you want to call it, Baylor fans just diminishing what Auburn has done as a football program just because we've sucked for the past 5 years. Well, guess what? They're like, oh, well, last year you went 5-7. It's not last year. This is a new year. Last year has nothing to do with it. So I get on some Auburn fans about that. Well, last year, okay. Well, you say, well, last year we didn't do this, we didn't do that, well, and I'm like, well, guess what? Last year we didn't get blown out in any game. We handed games away. And yes, Y2K, when you look at roster on roster, Auburn's roster is better than Baylor's. But we are better. I think you have the better quarterback. Could he lead you to a win? Yes. Last night, we watched a game. Hawaii and Stanford. Who had the better quarterback? Hawaii. Who won the game? Hawaii. Was there a questionable play call by Stanford? Yes. Did their quarterback look oblivious to the world in the second half? Yes. You're better than last year's team? I don't know, man. I don't know. Y2K, I'll ask you this. Who did you beat last year? Who did you beat last year that was worth a damn? Just give me one in the comments. Just give me one team that you beat that was any good last year. Because I think that's something that we're missing in the whole Baylor hype train this year. They didn't beat anybody. And if you can prove me wrong, I'll say it. But you gave up a whole lot of points. Give up a whole lot of points out there in that Big 12. We did beat somebody last year. We beat a team that was a game away from going to the SEC championship game, and we threw a wrench in their plans. So at times you could see that Auburn was, hey, we're pretty good. Like the record doesn't reflect how good the team is. I just want to know, because I've heard from a couple outlets that anytime he faced a top 60 ranked defense, Sawyer didn't play well. He threw for some yards, but you lost, and he wasn't great. And you lose one of your better offensive weapons in Dawson Pendergrass. I think that's going to play a factor as well. But look, let's get out of here for today. We've been going for an hour, man. Tuesday night, I wanted to hop on here today and just discuss a couple of those things about the FPI rankings. I thought they were pretty cool. It told me a little bit about where they think Auburn's going to end up. I feel like with that 84% at 6 wins, man, I feel like they think you're going to eclipse that 6 wins, 7 wins, and maybe 8 wins. I loved what Andy Staples and Ari Wasserman had to say. Go check out that podcast. And Tuesday night, we'll talk about game 1, Baylor. It's here. Baylor Bears in Waco, the battle of the river out there and the blackout and the freshmen running around on the field before the game and all that. Well, yeah, whatever. Y2K, it's been fun, brother. I hope you can be back here Tuesday night. We'll talk about Baylor. I'd love for you to be in the comments Tuesday night and we discuss. We can go back and forth on some of these position groups and why do you think Baylor will win the game and all that. So 7 o'clock Tuesday night, Y2K. I hope to see you here, brother. We'll talk week 1 about the Baylor Bears. Love y'all. War Damn Eagle, I'm out.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.